Oh my God. Hola. Hi. You guys are so beautiful and wonderful. Look at this amazing set. I am beside myself. Thank you so much for showing up in such big numbers to a talk that has the word feminist in it. I'm super proud of you. So yeah, my name is Liz. Today I'm going to be talking about feminist activism in the modern world. And I know what you're thinking, right? Why, if I'm talking about feminism, is my first slide a white dude? But if you've been living under a rock for the last 10 days, you might not be aware that Donald Trump is the president-elect of the United States of America. And if you have been living under that rock, I'm sure there are a lot of Americans would love to know where that rock is located so that they can Airbnb it for the next 4 years. Not all Americans, some Americans, about half of Americans who decided to vote. You know, for a year that was supposed to be all about women and about a woman shattering the glass ceiling, I think that not only did this woman think that she would be doing it, but I think that Donald Trump also thought that's what was going to happen until the election came rolling around. This election has actually been a lot about men. We've heard from Donald Trump from a leaked Access Hollywood tape about him bragging about sexual assault and then defending doing that and calling it locker room talk during a presidential debate. We had Anthony Weiner come back in the mix 10 days before, or a couple days before the election, with a sexting sort of scandal where he's texting, you know, underage girls. We had Roger Ailes, who was sexually harassing allegedly women at Fox News and who was a huge advisor to the Trump campaign. So it was sort of a little bit weird to be covering politics this year, a year where I thought we would be talking a lot about women and their policies and their plans for the world, and we ended up talking a lot about men. But I think that is actually a good thing, because this talk is mostly going to be about men, not women. I tricked you, right? Feminism, you thought we were just going to talk about women. I think that we actually really need to talk to men and about men. I think that things need to change because I think that men deserve better. And women have had their own feminist revolution, and I think that men need theirs too. And although our feminist revolution, which is not over, obviously, was a lot about finding direction, I think that the revolution for men is about getting a little lost. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would you listen to me, right? Men, that is actually a live shot of my fridge right now that's filled with clothes and my underwear. I do so little cooking and am so not organized that I use my appliances to store things. Like I store shoes in my oven. I don't know what a 401k is. I don't really have my life together. And I'm a woman, right? I make 77 cents to your dollar. My gender is not represented in Congress. Men, you have influence, you have power. Why would you change anything about the way that you're doing things? So although you shouldn't take my advice on a lot of stuff, you should take my advice on one thing, which is gender. So I've spent the last 5 years being obsessed, thinking and speaking and making viral videos about women and about gender. And I'm not the only woman who has done that. We've seen women like Beyonce, we've seen women like Sheryl Sandberg, many different kind of role models discuss what it means to be a woman for them. And these women have not always agreed, right? The feminism that Beyonce is presenting to the world is very different from the feminism that Sheryl Sandberg is presenting to the world. And a lot of people think that that was the weakness of the feminist movement. But I think that that is the strength of the feminist movement. I think that we disagreeing about what it means to be a woman is a good thing, right? Feminism didn't tell women, you all have to go out and be high-earning, top-earning CEOs in Silicon Valley. Feminism didn't tell women, you all have to be the best mom ever, stay at home and cook brownies every Friday night with your kids. Feminism told women that they could choose one of those things. Feminism told women that they could choose to do both of those things. And feminism also told women that they could choose neither of those things. That was the beauty of the feminist movement, and still the beauty of the feminist movement. It gives women the ability to choose. And I think that that is what men need right now. They need to have tough conversations. But think about what the worst thing or the most emasculating thing for a man to do is, right? Ask for directions. We all know. We've all traveled with a man before. You can't ask for directions. You have to seem like you always know where you're going, right? So if men can't ask for directions to the closest gas station, then how the hell are they supposed to ask directions about how to be a man? So how do I know this? I actually pulled my own social experiment. I, this summer, what some people would call feminist activism, I just call it journalism, went to Washington Square Park, armed with 2 chairs and a table, and a sign that said, "Free advice for men from a woman." And I just was really genuinely curious to hear what kinds of questions men had. And I came with Esther Perel, who's a wonderful, world-renowned psychologist, scholar, TED Talk. Yes, she's amazing. Google her right now or after this talk. And she really offered them sort of advice, the advice that I could not offer to them as a person who stores shoes in her oven. But I genuinely wanted to know, and I asked every single man who came, all walks of life, poor, rich, white, brown, black, gay, straight. I asked them, what's hard about being a man? And men who seemed like they knew exactly where they were going that day suddenly got a little bit lost. Frankly, a lot of them had never even thought about that question, which I found really interesting. And so 2 things sort of came out of that for me. The first thing was that what was hard about being a man wasn't necessarily women, it was other men. So men often told us that they felt a pressure from other men, or that they felt a pressure when they were around other men to do things a certain way. And that's actually a phenomenon that's supported by a theory called precarious manhood theory that shows that, for women, by virtue of looking like a female, appearing female, you are assuming that I'm feminine, and so I can wear pants, I can wear shorts, I can wear boyfriend jeans, like, man, I feel like a woman, wear like one of those shirts, and it's like really sexy. Like, I can act sort of like a man or take on masculine characteristics or clothing, and it's totally fine. But men don't have that luxury, right? Real men don't wear skirts. Real men don't wear dresses. Real men don't wear makeup. We have all of these rules. Real men don't cry, right? There's all of these rules constraining men in terms of their masculinity. And the second thing that I found was when I would ask these men, have you ever talked about this with the men inside your life? Most of them said no. So basically, men were doing exactly what they'd been taught to do, which is not ask for directions, even when it came to their own happiness and their own well-being. So the good news is first I want to describe the way that I as a woman, who has not lived as a man for all of my life. Imagine sort of masculinity in one image, which is an inflatable donut, right? But that has a hole in it. It feels like being a man is constantly blowing into this inflatable donut in order to maintain the appearance that it's not flawed. And that's extremely fatiguing, right? And no matter how hard you blow into that inflatable donut, it'll never really be full. You'll always have to keep blowing into it. And so I think that masculinity is that donut, and I think that we need to fix the hole. And yeah, the good news is it's a really easy solution and to a pretty complicated problem, and it's just that men have to talk to each other. And men do talk to each other, men have friends, but there's a lot of research that shows that their friendships are different than women's. Their friendships tend to be less long-lived, less in-depth. Married men, for example, become increasingly isolated with age. There's a study from the UK that shows that there are 2.5 million men living in the UK who have no close friends. And, no wonder when 2 men hang out on a Friday night at an Italian restaurant, we call it a bromance, right? As if there was something wrong or something that we needed to sort of laugh at when it comes to 2 men just like enjoying themselves platonically and having, a friendship. And the thing is, Putting men together is not necessarily the solution either. There are a lot of male spaces that end up being very toxic in the way that female spaces don't end up having that toxicity towards women or towards men. So male fraternity members, for example, are 300% more likely to rape than non-male fraternity members, according to one study in the US. And now, for the first time in history, we had a presidential candidate of a major party who ended up being the president-elect, who made the preservation, that toxicity of male spaces, an issue in the 2016 election, right? By calling it locker room talk. By calling, his wife Melania called it boy talk. I don't think that we should be teaching men to be boys. I think that we should be teaching boys to be better men. And that really starts by reclaiming those spaces, and those male spaces becoming not a place where you have to brag about doing illegal things to women or doing things that you may not even have done because you feel like you need to impress other men. It should be spaces where you can rethink manhood and rethink those issues. And I get that that is really daunting. I get that that is a really scary thing to do. But the worst thing that could happen is that you get a little lost. And I think that that's what men need. Maybe men talking about their feelings is actually the feminist revolution that we didn't know that we needed. So the world has changed. Slightly, just a little bit. And so has feminist activism. And I really think that, a lot of people are afraid right now. Some people are excited. But if you are looking up to Donald Trump, who's now the most powerful man in the United States, and you don't agree with that version of manhood or masculinity, and you want to try out something else, go ahead and do it. Stop inflating that donut hole that has like a hole in it. Spend that energy trying to rethink what it means to be a man. Not just for you, not just for the boys to come, the younger generation, but for all of us. Thank you so much. Thank you.